Lawyers who put together wills. What's the craziest and oddest thing someone wanted to put in theirs? Hey guys, welcome back to the internet. So we got another question of the day. By the way, whenever I'm looking for a question of the day, sometimes I have to look through hundreds of them before I find one that I actually want to do a video on. That's why you see some of these are from 6 months ago. Because yeah, sometimes it can be kind of hard to find good stories. But let's start with... A relative worked for a firm preparing wills and was confronted by an executor who had an edict to scatter the deceased ashes from a microlight aircraft. He couldn't fly one. She kindly pointed out to him that the drafting said nothing about whether said microflight was in flight at the time of scattering. You know, with all these stories of people putting crazy stuff in their wills, it's almost like it's somebody's birthday, where it's well, it is their birthday, we have to honor their wishes. It's well, it is their death day, we have to honor their wishes, even though some are just so bizarre. So I'm a qualified solicitor. My favorite two are: 1. A lady created a trust fund of £100,000 for her pet fish. When I asked if it was a special kind of fish, she confirmed it was just a normal goldfish, but she wanted it to be fed fresh avocado every day and be looked after by a local dog walker after she died. She was absolutely serious. Another lady confessed she had a secret daughter, and she wanted to leave the daughter some money and photographs without the rest of her family finding out. Even her husband doesn't know. That will be a fun conversation when she passes away. Yeah, some people's demands are just a little bit weird. So I might be late to the party and not a lawyer, but my great-granddad had a clause in his will that stated something along the lines of, if any other beneficiaries decide to dispute the contents of the descendant's estate, their share becomes $1 and nothing else. Seemed like a pretty good way to maintain harmony amongst his survivors. Yeah, it's kind of crazy just how many people go nuts and fight with their family over who gets the stuff out of the will. When my grandfather passed, he was asked that I clean out his shed, and I alone. I found marijuana seeds, old reel-style film pornography, which was hilarious, and a bunch of other unsavory paraphernalia. 50s flick knives, too. Hey, he just needed somebody to clear his browsing history, and he figured that you were probably the most okay with doing that. Just last week, I handled a matter where the parents left millions in artworks to various people, wads of cash to various charities, and only left their kids the family cats. Turns out they did it because the kids got them the cats to comfort the parents in their old age, and the parents freaking hated the cats, but the kids wouldn't let them get rid of the cats. Aw, Faye, you hear that? Some people don't actually like you. Not a lawyer, but my mom put in her will that if she dies under suspicious circumstances, that my sister and I won't be left anything. She watches a lot of true crime. I guess that just means that if she dies, it has to be in an unsuspicious way? So this one isn't necessarily crazy, just an interesting glimpse into the mind of a kind old woman in her 90s. My aunt and uncle, both more like parents and incredibly beautiful people, passed away within a few weeks of one another. When my uncle became ill, the aunt tried to work on a will with her long-term lawyer, but she was also just kinda old and out of it. Her main concern the entire time was small knickknacks like a jar of pennies she wanted a distant cousin to have, or a used jacket from the 70s she bequeathed to a sister-in-law. It was quite touching how much time she spent carefully considering each item and who would get it. Most of the items were used and didn't even really hold any sentimental value. She just wanted them to go to good homes. When she passed away, everyone knew exactly who was getting each odd item. The real kicker is when the lawyer told the primary beneficiaries that she never got around to the bigger assets and all that jazz. She basically told the lawyer, pay for our funeral and anything we owe, and then the family members X, Y, and Z can figure out the rest. It ended up being millions in homes, lakefront property, jewels, antique firearms, vehicles, life insurance policies, stocks, bonds, gold coins, etc. Luckily, the family is very close, and everything went off without a hitch. They were amazing people who wanted to keep family items in the family. They just didn't put that much weight on their incredible wealth. They also hid their wealth amazingly. We all knew that they were very comfortable, but no one had any idea they were deep into 8-figure assets. It was just funny to see a random niece get a set of plastic cups, worn dance shoes, and a check for $125,000. Hey, every little bit counts, at least you'll have something to drink out of. I read a lot of estate documents as part of my job. There is so much subtle shade in them occasionally. They can be pretty entertaining. One super wealthy lady had a huge section for the care and well-being of her pets. With primary and successor caretakers, a certain amount of money from the trust and care feeding each pet. One pet owner might receive $3,000 a month to take care of one of her pets after she passed, and certain situations on how they were cared for. While some might see this as excessive, the language and stipulations she had and how they were referred to showed that she really loved her pets. In that same will and trust, she also left a slew of people only $1, so that there would be no chance they could take the trust to probate court on the basis that they were merely forgotten. That part had so much subtle shade, a lot of, they know what they did, they were all aware of their guilt in the matter, etc. Then she split up about $2 million among 5 or 6 different animal rescues and animal welfare charities. It was around 200 pages long, and I swear I read the entire thing just for sheer entertainment value. Man, some people just want to go out with a bang, and some people really like animals. It's not a lawyer, but an aging woman my family knew left her house, a large and in a very affluent neighborhood, and estate to family friends for so long as her cats were alive and taken care of in said house. After they died, the house was to be sold and the remaining estate donated. The weird thing is, it's been like 20 years and the cats are still alive. Also, they've changed color. I smell a loophole here. My great-uncles officially gave the contents of his outhouse to the city council of a nearby town after they'd tried to take his land twice to build a new water treatment plant. He spent quite a few years fighting eminent domain claims, and just wanted to give them something in return. As a joke, his kids boxed up all the books and magazines in the outhouse and dropped them off at City Hall. You know, some people will deliver a bag of poop as a revenge gift, but others go all out and just deliver the whole outhouse. Not a will, but a deed. The city I worked for was renovating a small park that was donated to the city in the 1910s. We went through and looked at the handwritten deed for easements or other restrictions, and found that the family could claw the property back if the park were not perpetually provided with a fountain of pleasant running water fit for consumption by man and beast alike. The family still has descendants in town, so we installed a new water fountain with a dog bowl filler just to be safe. Man, some of these are so weird, I have a hard time reading them. Here's one from my dad's law partners. He had a lady come in with an itemized list of books and wanted her will to contain all of the books, and who will get what based on her choosing. So basically, she decides who gets what specific book instead of letting her beneficiaries decide. The truly astonishing thing is how many books and how specific they get. According to Dad's law partner, her list is at about 2,000 books to be divided among about 30 people. She's apparently very specific and comes back at least once a year to add all the new books she's gotten. I wonder if a lot of these old people even realize that a lot of the rest of their family are just like, I mean, thanks, but you don't have to give me everything you own. It's okay. My sister's mother-in-law is leaving her house to her 3 sons. If one wants to sell his third of the house, he has to sell it to the other 2 brothers for $1. Man, these are some creative ways of, preventing people from, fighting over it. A Furby collection from models collected in the late 90s. They were convinced they would retain future value. This was 2011. Let me just check eBay. Yeah, it looks like most Furbies are only worth about $20 to $40 each. I think we've kind of passed the generations of people collecting toys as an investment. My grandpa gave me all his tools, which sounds dumb, but we were in the same trade and it was a real life changer. It included a lift and his old shop truck, so I pretty much got everything to start at my own shop, but a building. A pretty good chunk of change, and his dog Tanner. As long as I made sure his live-in girlfriend at the time got nothing at all, and I told my uncle he was fat and his wife was going to leave him if she couldn't find his pecker. There was literally a script inside the will. It all went smooth, and my uncle lost weight, and Janice is an a-hole, and it turns out that Tanner is kind of an a-hole too. But it's okay, because my grandpa was kind of an a-hole. A good one, but still sort of an a-hole. They all have the same mustache and eyebrows, so now I come home from work every day and get stared down by my grandpa while I poop. Alright, I think this is the weirdest one we've read so far. Not a lawyer, work for a will writer / trust specialist in the UK, currently studying towards my TEP. One of our earlier clients passed recently. Turns out the man she left almost everything to, including the residue of her estate, which was considerable, was her regular taxi driver. She had also named him as her executor. He had no clue. The woman named as her executor and main beneficiary on her previous 2 wills, a close friend of many years, was understandably flabbergasted and contested the will. We responded to the solicitor's Lark v. Nugas request, informed Mr. Taxi Driver, who didn't even know our client had passed, and the will was upheld. Aforementioned friend was left a legacy of £5,000 if I remember correctly, but her nose was clearly out of joint. Bonus observation, it takes a lot less than £5,000 being up for grabs to make families turn against each other. Can get really nasty. One of the most startling things I've heard in my short time in this business. I suddenly have the urge to get a job driving a taxi. I had the first son, so my dad decided to leave me more. Except he did the math wrong, and it came out to 105%. He had dementia. Yeah, make sure you know how much money you have before you start trying to give it all away. So this is related. Worked on a divorce of a couple who fought over every single thing in the house, separating pillows and such. They were left 52 gallons of vanilla extract by her grandmother. In a secondary proceeding, he was awarded all but 5 gallons. 2 weeks later, he sent in a case of samples in a Ziploc baggie to our office, along with a request to subpoena a urine test from his ex-wife to prove she pissed in the jugs before he picked them up. We never needed to, as she screamed in court that she pissed them full just like he pissed all over her during the marriage. They were neat. This same couple went to court for nearly 2 years over a Beanie Baby collection. They had 3 kids. You know, I've read about a lot of weirdos over the time of all my videos, but this video just feels like a circus. My vindictive grandmother left my aunt $20 as a reminder of the $20 my aunt stole from her once. Hey, some people never forget. Not a lawyer, but I work at a law firm. One client left $100,000 to his 2 cats so they could maintain their current lifestyle. Okay, so I have 2 questions with this one. 1, what kind of life does a cat live with $100,000? I spend maybe like $300 a year at most on Faye. And 2, how are you supposed to leave actual assets to an animal? Do animals even have like rights to private property? Do they even know that they have this money? I mean, they sure don't know how to spend it. My grandma left a penny and a nasty comment to almost every person in the will. All of her sons and daughters, even a few grandchildren. Except for me, I got $1,000. Thanks, Grandma. Hey, she's just letting you know that you were her favorite. She likes to live in an all-or-nothing kind of way. Not a lawyer, but my grandpa put in his will a chocolate bar for every one of his grandkids. Well, I have like 12 cousins, and very difficult to track down where a couple of them went. All this estates and money he had in the will was at a standstill for months because they couldn't find my couple cousins. Had to show the court we put in effort to hire someone to track them down. The lawyer that was helping execute the will was blown away that this lawyer allowed this and why he wouldn't highly suggest not to do it. But I'm not complaining because I got a Toblerone out of the deal. I mean, if you've got a bunch of chocolate bars in your will, you're probably expecting to go at least within the next few months. I mean, hopefully you're not giving away like 20-year-old candy. So I, in my early 20s, was forced to write a will due to health insurance I get at work. And amongst sensible stuff, in-house lawyers said it was totally okay for this clause to be added. My funeral wishes are that I be buried in a coffin which has been spring-loaded, such that opening the coffin would cause alarm to future archaeologists. Then a bunch of stuff about if this is too costly, I'd be cremated and then have my ashes scattered in a specific place. Why is it that everyone wants their ashes to be scattered somewhere? I mean, is it just not a thing for people to just keep the ashes and not just dump them out? My great-grandmother left most of her money to a local donkey sanctuary. Okay, I mean, I guess some people just like donkeys. The client wanted her ashes spread at a restaurant on the beach where she and her husband met. I could just imagine the manager at the restaurant. They're just like, whoa, why are you dumping ashes over here? This is a severe health violation. Oh, it's okay. It was in their will. Oh, well, if it was in their will, I guess we just have to let it happen then. I work in probate. The oddest thing I've seen in a while is to euthanize her beloved horse, have it cremated, and its ashes scattered with the descendant. Lucky for the horse, she named a horse that was already dead, so the one she got afterwards lived to see another farm. So she wanted you to kill her already dead horse? Maybe she was sending you some subliminal messages about beating a dead horse. Lots of people sending their friends and family on weird errands to spread their ashes, leaving money for people to take trips and spread their ashes around the world. Pet trusts are a fun one, leaving a whole whack of money in a trust to be used for the care of the pet during their life. However, my favorite ever, that I obviously didn't draft, was a lawyer who left the bulk of his estate, millions in today's dollars, to whatever Toronto area woman had the most children at a specific date some years in the future. I recall the winner had 10. Man, that's interesting, just like throwing out a random lottery to strangers. My grandfather left me $1. He had dementia and confused my dad ripping him off with me. He left the rest of my family between $100,000 and a few million each. They all said they felt horrible because they knew the details, but not horrible enough to give up any of their share. The way I see it is, it was never my money to begin with, so it's not a loss. I'm just glad my sister got $100,000. She needed it more than any of the others. Oh man, this one kind of hurts to read. But at the same time, it is kind of true. If you lose out on a potential giant bonus, you're just like, well, I was fine without it before, I could be fine without it now. A good clause is always, for reasons known to them, which is will speak for, you've gone and effed up, a-hole, I don't forgive you. In my own will, I've left my father the contents of my kitchen trash can at the time of my passing, for reasons known to him. I mean, that's the best way to just get in that final blow. My grandfather passed a few hours ago, but my grandmother came to me after with a navy blue tie featuring pink elephants. Ridiculous looking, but she said that he wore it to intimidate people in business, as someone willing to wear such a ridiculous tie doesn't care about what people think. That scares people. So he wanted me to have it so I could do the same. Man, this seriously sounds like a Will Laren comic. A lady wanted her small dog to be buried with her. If the dog happened to be alive when the lady passed, she wanted the dog put down and then join her. Jeez. If I die, I'm taking you with me. Oh, well, I guess that looks like that's the end. You know what? I'll let you guys in on something. I'll put in my will, if I die, I'll leave the channel to Faye, and she will continue making videos for me. So hopefully she doesn't try to murder me in the meantime, but thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.